The first time Leanne saw the alien woman, she almost screamed. Her heart beat fast as she stared at the tall, blue-skinned figure standing in her backyard garden. The alien had 4 arms and wore a strange silver outfit that seemed to shimmer in the moonlight. Leanne had been working late in her home office when she noticed the strange lights outside. She thought it might be teens playing pranks, but instead found something beyond her wildest imagination. The alien woman raised one of her 4 hands in what seemed like a peaceful gesture. Her eyes were large and completely black without any whites, making it impossible to tell where she was looking. "Do not scream, human." The words appeared in Leanne's mind without the alien speaking. Aloud, "I come with important information." Leanne tried to stay calm, though her legs felt weak. She was a nurse at the local hospital and had dealt with many emergency situations, but nothing had prepared her for this. "My name is Viridia," the alien continued. "In Leanne's mind, I am from a planet you would call Nexus. We have been watching your species for centuries. Why are you in my garden?" Leanne managed to ask her voice, barely above a whisper. Viridia moved closer with graceful steps that seemed almost like floating. The garden plants appeared to lean toward her as if drawn by some unseen force. "I chose you because you have the genetic markers we seek," Viridia explained. "Your kind is rare among humans and valuable to us." Leanne backed away, bumping into her porch steps. "What genetic markers? What do you want with me?" The alien woman tilted her head in a curious manner. "Your species is primitive in many ways, but has potential beyond what you realize. Your particular genetic sequence contains adaptations that our scientists believe hold the key to saving my people from extinction." A strange warmth spread through Leanne's body, making her feel dizzy. She realized the alien must be doing something to her. "Stop whatever you're doing to me," Leanne demanded. Finding her courage, Viridia lowered all 4 of her arms. "I apologize, I was scanning you. It causes a sensation in humans that can be uncomfortable. We mean no harm." The alien explanation did little to comfort Leanne. "How many of you are there?" "Just my research team," Viridia answered. "We have remained hidden from your governments. We need willing participants, not forced specimens. That is why I approach you directly." A sudden thought occurred to Leanne. If her DNA was special, maybe others in her family were too. She had a younger sister, Allison, who lived just across town. "What exactly would helping you involve?" she asked, stalling for time while trying to process everything. Viridia seemed pleased by the question. "A simple tissue sample would suffice for initial study. If compatible, we would ask you to visit our research vessel in orbit. Your safety would be guaranteed, and you would be returned unharmed." Leanne found that hard to believe. Aliens abducting humans rarely ended well in the movies. She had seen, "How do I know you're telling the truth? How do I know this isn't some kind of invasion?" Viridia made a sound that might have been laughter. "We have observed your entertainment media. It has given your species a distorted view of interstellar relations. If conquest was our goal, your planet would have been claimed centuries ago before your kind even developed basic electricity." The alien reached into a pocket on her silver suit and pulled out a small crystal that glowed with an inner blue light. "This contains information about my world and our situation. You may study it before deciding." When Leanne hesitated to take the object, Viridia placed it on the ground between them. "1 Earth week. We will return for your answer." The alien woman began to shimmer, becoming transparent. "I hope you choose to help us, Leanne Wright. Your genetic code might save billions of lives." With those final words, Viridia vanished completely, leaving only slightly flattened grass where she had stood. Leanne stared at the glowing crystal, wondering if she had imagined the entire encounter. She carefully picked it up, finding it warm to the touch. As soon as her fingers closed around it, images flooded her mind. She saw a beautiful world, with 3 moons and sprawling cities nestled among mountains that floated in the sky. She saw the alien people with their blue skin and 4 arms living peaceful lives dedicated to art and science. Then she saw the sickness that was slowly killing them, turning their skin gray and causing their bodies to deteriorate. When the visions ended, Leanne was sitting on her porch steps, tears streaming down her face. She knew the aliens were telling the truth. They needed help, and somehow her DNA might provide it. Next morning, Leanne called her boss at the hospital, claiming she needed a week of emergency personal leave. Then she drove to her sister Allison's house with the crystal carefully wrapped in a scarf. "I need to show you something," she told her sister. When she arrived, "But you're not going to believe it unless you see it for yourself." Allison was skeptical at first, thinking her sister was playing an elaborate prank. But after touching the crystal and receiving the same visions, she too was convinced. "You think we're both just having the same hallucination?" Allison asked, her voice shaking. Leanne shook her head. "I don't think so. And if what they showed us is real, they need our help. But why us?" Allison wondered what makes our DNA so special. Leanne had been wondering the same thing. Their grandmother had always claimed their family had survived some kind of government experiment back in the 1950s. Everyone thought she was just making up stories, but now Leanne wasn't so sure. "Maybe we're not entirely human," she suggested quietly. "Or maybe we're just mutants. Either way, we have a week to decide," Allison said. "Do we help an alien species survive, or do we report this to the authorities?" Over the next 2 days, the sisters researched their family history. Leanne dug through old family albums while Allison searched online for any information about government experiments from the 1950s. They found an old newspaper clipping about a small town in Nevada where their grandmother had lived. A mysterious illness had swept through the community, and the government had quarantined the entire area for months. When people were finally allowed to return, many residents reported strange symptoms and changes to their bodies. "Do you think this could be connected?" Allison asked, showing Leanne the article. "It can't be coincidence," Leanne replied. "Our grandmother always said the government did tests on everyone in her town. Maybe they were exposed to something not from Earth on the 3rd night after Viridia's visit." Leanne woke to find her bedroom filled with a soft blue light. She sat up quickly, her heart pounding. "Do not be alarmed, Leanne, right?" The familiar voice echoed in her mind. Viridia stood at the foot of her bed, her forearms hanging loosely at her sides. "I sense your confusion and wanted to provide more information." Leanne pulled her blanket up to her chin. "Why couldn't you wait until the week was over? And how did you get into my house?" "Your dwelling security is primitive," Viridia replied with what seemed like amusement. "I have come because our scientists have analyzed the preliminary scans I took of you. They are even more excited about your genetic markers than before." "What exactly did you find?" Leanne asked. "Your DNA contains sequences that are not entirely human," Viridia explained. "You have genetic material that matches samples we collected from Earth over 300 years ago before we established our non-interference protocols." Leanne tried to process this information. 300 years ago, your people were here then?" "Yes," Viridia confirmed. "We had a research outpost studying Earth's developing ecosystem. There was an accident. One of our medical research vessels crashed. Your ancestors may have been exposed to materials from that crash. Is that what happened in Nevada?" Leanne asked. Thinking about her grandmother's stories, Viridia tilted her head. "I am not familiar with this Nevada incident, but it is possible that your government discovered remnants of our technology and experimented with it." The alien moved closer to the bed. "I must warn you, Leanne, right? Others may be looking for people with your genetic markers. Not all spacefaring species are as peaceful as mine." Leanne felt a chill run down her spine. "Other aliens are looking for us." Viridia nodded slowly. "There is a species called the Drovak. They are collectors of genetic material. They seek unique combinations to enhance their own evolution. They would not ask permission as we do." Leanne suddenly felt very exposed and vulnerable. She reached for her phone, thinking she should call Allison immediately. "Your sister is safe for now," Viridia assured her. "But I recommend you both come with me sooner than planned. For your protection." Leanne shook her head. "I need the full week. I need time to think. And to talk to my sister." Viridia seemed to consider this very well. "But be vigilant. If you notice any unusual lights or electronic disturbances, contact me immediately." She handed Leanne a small metallic disc. "Simply hold this and think of me." With that, Viridia shimmered and vanished, leaving Leanne alone in her bedroom. clutching the disk and wondering if she had just made a terrible mistake by not leaving Earth immediately. The next morning, Leanne drove to Allison's house much earlier than she had planned. Her sister opened the door in her pajamas, looking concerned. "What's wrong, Leanne? You look like you haven't slept." Leanne pushed past her sister into the house, making sure to lock the door behind her. She showed Allison the metallic disc that Viridia had given her. "She came to my bedroom last night." Leanne explained quickly. "She says, we're in danger. Other aliens called the Drovak are looking for people with our genetic markers." Allison took the disc, examining it carefully. "What does this do? It's some kind of communication device, I think. You just hold it and think about Viridia." Allison handed it back to Leanne. "This is getting really scary, Lee." "Maybe we should tell someone who would believe us," Leanne asked. "Besides, Viridia said our government might have been experimenting with alien technology. What if they want to lock us up and study us too?" Allison sighed and sat down on her couch. "I called in sick to work today. I was planning to drive to Grandma's nursing home to ask her more about what happened in Nevada." Leanne nodded. "That's a good idea. I want to go with you." The sisters packed quickly and were on the road within an hour. The nursing home was 3 hours away, in a small town called Pineville. Their grandmother, Elaine, was 87 and suffering from dementia, but she still had moments of clarity. During the drive, Leanne told Allison everything Viridia had shared about the crashed research vessel and the alien genetic material. "So you're saying we're part alien?" Allison asked, gripping the steering wheel tightly. "Not exactly," Leanne replied. "I think it's more like some alien DNA got mixed with humans a long time ago, and it's been passed down through generations." The sisters lapsed into silence, both lost in their own thoughts. As they drove through a stretch of empty desert highway, Allison suddenly pointed at the sky. "Leanne, look." A dark shape moved across the sun, momentarily blocking its light. It was too large, and moving too fast to be a cloud. "What is that?" Leanne whispered. Before Allison could respond, the car engine sputtered and died. The vehicle rolled to a stop on the shoulder of the road. "Try to start it again," Leanne urged her sister. Allison turned the key, but nothing happened. Not even a click. The dashboard lights were dead too. Leanne pulled out her phone. No signal. She looked at Allison's phone. Same. The sisters looked at each other, fear evident in their eyes. Leanne reached into her pocket and pulled out the metallic disc. "Should I call her?" Leanne asked. Allison nodded quickly. "Yes, call her now." Leanne closed her hand around the disc and thought about Viridia, picturing the blue alien woman with her 4 arms and shimmering silver suit. She concentrated, hard, trying to convey their location and the strange aircraft they'd seen. Minutes passed with nothing happening. The desert around them was silent and empty. "Maybe it doesn't work," Allison suggested, her voice tight with worry. Leanne was about to respond when a bright light suddenly enveloped their car. It was so intense that both sisters covered their eyes. The car began to shake. "It's not Viridia," Leanne shouted, grabbing her sister's arm. "It's them. The Drovak." The light grew brighter, and Leanne felt a strange pulling sensation, as if her body was becoming lighter. She clung to Allison, who was screaming, though Leanne could no longer hear the sound. Then abruptly, the light vanished. The car stopped shaking, and everything went dark. When Leanne opened her eyes, she found herself lying on a cold metal floor. She sat up quickly, looking around. The room was circular, with smooth, silvery walls that seemed to pulse with an inner light. Allison lay unconscious beside her. "Allison." Leanne shook her sister. "Gently, wake up." Allison groaned and opened her eyes. "Where are we?" "Not in the car anymore." Leanne helped her sister sit up. "I think we're on a ship, Air." "You sure it's not Viridia's people?" Allison asked. Leanne shook her head. "The technology looks different. Everything here is angular and metallic." Viridia's crystal was organic looking. As the sisters examined their surroundings, a seam appeared in the wall, forming a doorway. A tall figure entered the room. It was humanoid, but definitely not human. Its skin was pale, gray, and seemed to shift like liquid mercury. It had no hair and its eyes were vertical slits glowing with a yellowish light. Specimens acquired. The creature spoke in a harsh mechanical voice that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. Who are you? Leanne demanded, standing protectively in front of her sister. We are Drovak, the creature replied. Your genetic material is required for our evolution. Leanne felt for the metal disc in her pocket, relieved to find it still there. We are not specimens, she said firmly. We have rights. The Drovak tilted its head. Rights are irrelevant. Your species is primitive. Your existence serves the greater evolution. Another Drovak entered the room carrying what looked like medical instruments. The sisters backed away until they hit the wall. Examination will commence. The first Drovak announced. Resistance is futile and illogical. Leanne squeezed the disc in her pocket, desperately thinking of Viridia. Please help us. Please. The Drovak approached with their instruments. Leanne looked around frantically for anything they could use as a weapon, but the room was completely bare. Suddenly a familiar warmth spread through her body. The disc in her pocket grew hot, almost burning her through her clothes. The Drovak paused, their heads turning in unison toward the wall. Intrusion detected, the first one announced, its voice now showing hints of alarm. Nexus interference. A section of the wall began to glow with blue light, forming another doorway. Viridia stepped, through, flanked by two other blue-skinned aliens. Their silver suits now appeared to be some kind of armor with symbols glowing on the chest release. The humans, Viridia commanded, her voice actually audible now, not just in Leanne's mind. They are under Nexus protection. The Drovak moved back, their mercury skin rippling with what might have been anger. The tall one spoke. These specimens possess genetic material of interest to the collective. They will be acquired. Viridia stepped forward, her four arms now holding what appeared to be weapons. These humans possess Nexus genetic material from an incident covered by the Ancient Accords. You cannot claim them. Ancient Accords were violated by Nexus. The Drovak countered. The crash was intentional. Leanne watched the standoff, her mind racing. So the crash 300 years ago wasn't an accident. The aliens had deliberately introduced their DNA to humans. But why? Viridia seemed to sense Leanne's thoughts and glanced at her briefly. We can explain everything, once you are safe. The Drovak moved, suddenly lunging toward the sisters. Viridia and her companions fired their weapons, releasing beams of blue energy that formed a barrier between the humans and the Drovak. Run, Viridia commanded, pointing to the doorway she had created. Go now. Leanne grabbed Allison's hand and they ran toward the glowing blue doorway. As they reached it, Leanne looked back to see the Drovak and Nexus aliens engaged in combat. The Drovak's liquid metal skin seemed to absorb the energy, weapons, while they fired back with dark pulses that distorted the air. The sisters stepped through the doorway and found themselves in a corridor that looked organic, with walls that seemed alive, pulsing with blue veins of light. Keep moving, Viridia called from behind them. This way. They followed the corridor, which curved and branched like a living thing. Eventually, they reached a larger chamber where a circular platform stood in the center. Stand on the platform, Viridia instructed as she caught up to them. We must transport to our ship quickly. The Drovak vessel will attempt to lock us in. Leanne hesitated. The Drovak said the crash was intentional. Is that true? Viridia looked at her with those large black eyes. This is not the time for explanations. The Drovak will kill you if they recapture you. That wasn't a denial, Allison pointed out. Viridia made a gesture of frustration with her upper arms. Yes, the crash was planned, but not in the way the Drovak implied. Please, we must leave now. Reluctantly, the sisters stepped onto the platform. Viridia joined them, pressing symbols on a panel at the center. The platform began to glow, and the same pulling sensation Leanne had felt earlier returned. Prepare for transport, Viridia said, her voice becoming distant. We are breaking free of the Drovak ship. The chamber around them faded from view, replaced by a bright white light. Leanne felt as if her body was being pulled apart and reassembled. Her stomach lurched and she closed her eyes against the disorienting sensation. When she opened her eyes again, she was standing in a room very different from the Drovak ship. The walls were a soft blue color and seemed to be made of something like coral or living tissue. Plants grew from the floors and ceiling, and the air smelled fresh like a forest after rain. "Welcome to the Nexus research vessel," Harmony Viridia announced, her voice once again appearing directly in their minds. "You are safe now." Leanne looked around the organic chamber of the Nexus ship, still holding her sister's hand tightly. The blue coral-like walls pulsed gently as if the ship itself was breathing. Small, floating lights drifted through the air, illuminating the space. With a soft glow, "I think you owe us some explanations," Leanne said, turning to face Viridia. The alien woman nodded her forearms, making a complex gesture that somehow conveyed both agreement and regret. "You are right, Leanne, right. You deserve to know the truth. Please follow me to a more comfortable space." Viridia led them through corridors that seemed to grow and shift as they walked, creating the path ahead of them and closing behind them. They passed other blue-skinned aliens who regarded the humans with obvious curiosity. Some had 4 arms like Viridia, but others had 6 or even 8. Several of them appeared ill, their skin patchy with gray spots. "This is the medical section of our vessel," Viridia explained. "These are the victims of the genetic degradation that affects our people." "How many of you are sick?" Allison asked, her medical training making her study the symptoms with professional interest. "Nearly 40% of our population," Viridia replied, "and the number grows each cycle." They entered a circular room with what appeared to be living furniture growing from the floor. Cushiony plant-like structures formed seats, while crystalline tables held floating holograms. "Please sit," Viridia gestured to the seats. "I will explain everything." The sisters sat down cautiously, finding the seats surprisingly comfortable despite their alien design. 300 cycles ago, Viridia began what you would call years. Our civilization discovered a problem in our genetic code. Our species evolved on a planet with high radiation levels, which shaped our DNA to be highly adaptable and resilient. But when we developed space travel and began spending more time away from our homeworlds, radiation, our genes became unstable. "Is that why you're sick now?" Leanne asked. Viridia nodded. "We call it the fading. Our bodies begin to lose their ability to maintain cellular cohesion. Our organs fail, and our skin turns gray as the pigment cells die." "That's terrible," Allison said. "But what does this have to do with us?" "In the crash you planned on Earth, Viridia activated a hologram showing a double helix DNA strand, but with 4 strands instead of 2. This is Nexus DNA," she explained. Then the image changed to show human DNA. "This is yours. But this," she brought up a third image showing human DNA with strange modifications, "is what we found in your family line and a few others." Leanne leaned forward, studying the image. "So we really do have alien DNA," "Not exactly," Viridia corrected. "It's more complicated. Our scientists discovered that certain human genetic sequences were naturally resistant to our condition. When exposed to our DNA, they created a stable hybrid that prevented the fading. 300 years ago, our people were desperate." Viridia continued. "We had discovered Earth and found that some humans carried this genetic resistance. Our leaders decided to conduct an experiment. A research ship deliberately crashed carrying genetic material that would merge with humans in the area. Your people experimented on humans without consent," Allison said, her voice rising with anger. "It was wrong." Viridia acknowledged, spreading her 4 arms in what seemed like a gesture of shame. "By our modern ethics, it was a terrible crime. But it happened long before I was born. The ancient accords were created afterwards specifically to prevent such interference with developing species. So our grandmother really was experimented on by the government," Leanne said. "Yes," Viridia confirmed. "When your human authorities found survivors in the crash area, they studied them and discovered the changes in their DNA. They conducted their own experiments trying to understand and control the mutations, and now you're doing the same thing." Allison accused. "No," Viridia said firmly. "That is why I approached you directly and asked for your consent. We have been monitoring descendants of the original exposure for generations, watching as the hybrid genes expressed themselves in different ways. Your family line has shown the most stable integration." Leanne thought about this for a moment. "So what exactly do you want from us?" "A blood sample. A tissue sample. You said before, that you might want us to visit your research vessel. Well, here we are. We need more than samples. Viridia admitted. We need you to undergo a procedure that would extract the hybrid genetic material and allow us to create a cure for our people. What kind of procedure? Allison asked suspiciously. It is non-invasive. Viridia assured them. But it would take time, approximately one of your Earth months, and there would be side effects, like what Leanne pressed. Your own genetic structure would be temporarily weakened. Viridia explained. You would feel fatigued. Your immune system would be compromised. You would need to remain in quarantine during the procedure, but we would survive, Allison asked, and be able to return to Earth afterward. Yes. Viridia confirmed. You would both fully recover, and you would be compensated. Compensated. How Leanne asked Viridia, made. A gesture and another hologram appeared showing complex mathematical equations. Our people have technologies that could solve many of Earth's problems: clean energy, advanced medicine, agricultural innovations. We would share some of these with you. Not enough to drastically alter your species' development, but enough to improve many lives. The sisters exchanged a look, both thinking the same thing. What about the Drovak? Leanne asked. Are they still a threat? Viridia nodded gravely. They are indeed. The Drovak are genetic collectors. They enhance their own evolution by incorporating DNA from other species. They have been following our research for centuries. They know that your hybrid genes are valuable. Are they following us now? Allison asked, looking around as if expecting the mercury-skinned aliens to appear at any moment. Our ship has defensive capabilities. Viridia assured them. We are currently traveling away from Earth orbit to make it more difficult for them to track us. But they will not give up easily. They see your genetic material as vital to their collective evolution. I have one more question, Leanne said. Why did you only approach me at first? Why not both of us? If we both have these hybrid genes, Viridia tilted her head. Your genetic expression is slightly more developed than your sister's. We needed to confirm that you would be receptive before approaching other potential candidates. Allison caught the word. How many humans carry these hybrid genes? Approximately 5,000 scattered across your planet, Viridia answered. But your family line shows the strongest integration, the most stable hybridization. The sisters fell silent, absorbing all this information. Leanne thought about their lives on Earth, their jobs, their friends. Everything normal and ordinary now replaced by this extraordinary situation. We need time to think about this, Leanne finally said. Of course, Viridia agreed. But I must caution you that remaining on our vessel is safest for now. The Drovak will be searching for you. Where exactly is your vessel now? Allison asked. Are we in orbit around Earth? Viridia hesitated. We are currently leaving your solar system. We needed to create distance between ourselves and the Drovak ship, leaving the solar system. Leanne stood up in alarm. You kidnapped us. It was necessary for your protection, Viridia explained quickly. We will return you to Earth regardless of your decision, but we needed to ensure the Drovak could not recapture you. How far are we going? Allison demanded. We will stop at the edge of your solar system, Viridia assured them. Near your planet's orbital path. Just far enough that the Drovak cannot easily find us. The sisters exchanged worried glances. Can we see? Leanne asked. See, Viridia seemed confused. Earth. Can we see Earth from here? Leanne clarified. Viridia nodded and made a gesture. The wall of the chamber became transparent, revealing the vastness of space. Outside, countless stars shone against the blackness. And there, in the distance, a small blue marble Earth growing smaller as they watched. The sight took Leanne's breath away. She'd seen pictures from space, of course, but actually seeing her home planet like this, knowing she was leaving it behind, made her heart ache. How? Long before we reached the edge of the solar system, Allison asked, her voice quiet. Approximately 6 of your Earth hours, Viridia replied. And if we decide not to help you? Leanne asked, turning back to face the alien. How long to return us to Earth? Viridia hesitated. Returning would be complicated. The Drovak would be watching. We would need to be careful. Approximately 3 of your days. 3 days. Leanne repeated. And if we agree to help you be away from Earth for a month? Viridia nodded. Yes, though. Subjective time in the medical stasis chambers can be adjusted. You would experience it as perhaps a week more alien technology. Allison murmured, I'd like to see more of your ship. Leanne said suddenly, I want to see these sick people. I want to understand what we're potentially saving. Viridia seemed pleased by this request. Of course, I will show you our medical facilities and our research chambers. You can meet our scientists and see the work we are doing. As they followed Viridia out of the room, Allison leaned close to her sister and whispered, Are you seriously considering this? Leanne watched the alien walking ahead of them, her blue skin marbled with faint gray patches, a sign of the early stages of the fading. I don't think we have much choice, she whispered back. If what they're saying is true, our DNA could save an entire species, and if we're stuck on this ship anyway. I know. Allison sighed. I just wish we had more options. We might. Leanne replied, thinking quickly. Keep your eyes open for anything useful. We need to learn as much as we can about these aliens and their technology. The medical bay of the Nexus ship was unlike any hospital Leanne had ever seen. Pods that looked like large seed pods lined the walls, each containing a blue-skinned alien in various stages of the fading disease. Their skin ranged from vibrant blue to nearly completely gray. Some had lost arms, their bodies reabsorbing the limbs as the disease progressed. This is horrible, Leanne whispered as they walked between the rows of pods. Many of these are our scientists, Viridia explained. They continue to work even as their bodies fail. They are the ones who trace the hybrid genes in your family. A tall Nexus alien approached them. His skin was mostly gray, with only patches of blue remaining. He had 6 arms, though 2 were visibly smaller than the others and seemed to be withering. This is Zender, our lead genetic researcher, Viridia introduced him. Zender studied the sisters with large black eyes that showed no sign of the disease. The human subjects have arrived, he noted, his voice appearing directly in their minds. You can see why your help is so vital to us. I understand your suffering, Allison said. But experimenting on other species without consent is wrong. You should have found another way. We tried. Zendar replied. There were millions of failures before the Earth project. Our species was facing extinction. Desperate choices were made. Viridia led them to a large chamber filled with complex equipment and floating holographic displays. This is our primary research lab, she explained. This is where the procedure would take place if you agree. Leanne examined the equipment, noticing the unusual combination of seemingly organic technology growing from the ship itself and more conventional-looking screens and instruments. How exactly would this procedure work? She asked. Zender moved to a control panel and activated a hologram showing 2 humanoid figures. The hybrid genes in your DNA need to be carefully extracted and replicated, he explained. The procedure uses quantum resonance to isolate the specific genetic sequences that prevent the fading. When those sequences are identified, they can be extracted without physically removing tissue, so it's more like copying than taking. Allison clarified. Precisely, Zendar confirmed. The process is non-destructive to your genetic material, but it does temporarily weaken the bonds in your DNA, causing the side effects. Viridia mentioned, how many humans have undergone this procedure before? Leanne asked Zendar. And Viridia exchanged a look. You would be the first, Zendar admitted. We have only observed and taken small samples until now. The integration in your family line has only recently stabilized enough for the full procedure to be possible. So we're guinea pigs? Allison said, crossing her arms. Test subjects, Zender corrected. Though I understand the negative connotation in your language, we prefer to think of you as potential saviors. As they continued the tour, Leanne noticed something strange about the ship itself. The walls seemed to react to her presence, pulsing slightly brighter when she passed. She brushed her fingers against one section and felt a slight vibration in response. The ship is alive, isn't it? She asked. Viridia. The alien seemed impressed by her observation. Yes, in a way. Our vessels are grown, not built. They are a symbiotic life form that provides for our needs and responds to our presence. The ship recognized your hybrid DNA. That is why it reacts to you. After seeing the research facilities Viridia showed them to private quarters. 2 adjacent rooms with the same organic architecture as the rest of the ship, but furnished with items that appeared more familiar. Beds, tables, chairs, though all growing seamlessly from the floor and walls, we have attempted to create comfortable accommodations based on our understanding of human needs, Viridia explained. There is a nutrition chamber that can synthesize earth foods and a cleansing area, similar to your bathrooms. Thank you, Leanne said. These will be fine. We need to discuss this alone. Allison told Viridia. Could you give us some privacy? Of course, Viridia agreed. I will return in 2 hours to hear your decision. Remember, we are approaching the edge of your solar system. Soon we must either proceed outward, to our medical facility, or begin the journey back to Earth. After Viridia left, the sisters examined the rooms carefully. Do you think we're being watched? Allison whispered. Probably, Leanne replied, running her hands along the walls. The ship itself seems semi-conscious. I bet it monitors everything. Leanne found a small crystal similar to the one Viridia had first given her on Earth embedded in the wall. She pressed it, and a holographic view of space appeared showing their position relative to Earth. We're really far from home, Allison said sadly. Leanne sat on the edge of the bed. What do you think we should do? Allison paced the room. I don't know. On one hand, they kidnapped us and are taking us out of the solar system. On the other hand, they did save us from the Drovak, and they seemed genuinely desperate. Do you believe their story? Leanne asked. About our grandmother and the hybrid genes, it would explain a lot. Allison admitted. Remember how Grandma could always predict storms before they hit, and how she never got sick even during flu outbreaks. And what about you? You've always healed faster than normal. Leanne nodded, thinking about the countless times she'd recovered from injuries or illnesses much quicker than her colleagues expected. I always thought I just had a good immune system. Do you think we should help them? Allison asked, sitting beside her sister. Leanne considered the question carefully. If what they're saying is true, we could save an entire species. If we refuse thousands of them, we'll die from this fading disease. But we're also putting ourselves at risk a month away from Earth. Allison mused. What would we tell our jobs? Our friends? Viridia said subjective time would pass differently. Leanne reminded her. Maybe they could return us close to when we left. The sisters continued discussing, weighing the risks against the humanitarian, or rather alienitarian, value of helping the Nexus people. Eventually, Leanne stood up and walked to the crystal on the wall. I want to see more of the ship, she said, pressing it to change the view. The hologram shifted, showing different sections of the vessel. Engineering chambers, the bridge navigation systems. They studied each area carefully, noting the number of crew and the layout look. Allison pointed to a section that appeared to be a hangar. Small vessels were docked there, maybe escape pods or shuttles. Leanne zoomed in on the hangar. Could we fly one of those? I doubt it, Allison replied. Alien technology, remember. But it's good to know they're there. After nearly 2 hours of discussion, Viridia returned as promised, her expression unreadable with those featureless black eyes. Have you made your decision? She asked. We have some conditions. Leanne said. We want to learn more about your technology, especially your medical technology. We both work in healthcare on Earth. The knowledge would be valuable to us. Viridia seemed to consider this. There are limitations to what we can share due to the ancient accords, but medical knowledge is permitted within certain parameters. What else? We want to be able to communicate with each other during the procedure, Allison added. And we want to be conscious, not in stasis. We want to know what's happening to us. That would make the process more difficult for you. Viridia warned you would experience the full effects of the genetic weakening. We still want to be aware. Leanne insisted. Very well. Viridia agreed. Any other conditions? Yes. Leanne said, we want to guarantee that you will return us to Earth regardless of whether the procedure succeeds or fails, and we want protection from the Drovak. These terms are acceptable. Viridia confirmed. We already plan to honor these basic rights. The Drovak, however, remain a concern. We can protect you while you are with us, but once you return to Earth, you may be vulnerable again. What can we do about that? Allison asked. There are defensive measures we can teach you, Viridia explained. Ways to shield your genetic signature from their scanners, and we can provide emergency beacons similar to the disc I gave Leanne. The sisters exchanged a look. Is that enough? Leanne asked her sister. It will have to be, Allison replied. Then turning to Viridia. We agree to help you. Viridia made a gesture with all 4 arms that seemed to express deep gratitude. You have made a noble choice. Your sacrifice will save countless lives. Sacrifice. Allison caught the word. Why do you call it that? Viridia hesitated. The procedure is not without risk, though we have refined it in simulations. There remains a small chance of complications. What kind of complications? Leanne demanded. In the worst case, Viridia admitted slowly permanent genetic damage. Though our models predict a 98% chance of full recovery, those are good odds, Leanne said, trying to sound confident. But I'm not sure I like that you waited until after we agreed to mention this. Risk, I apologize. Viridia said, it was not my intention to deceive you. The risk is minimal. When do we begin? Allison asked. We must first reach our main medical facility, Viridia explained. We are currently sending a message to our homeworld to prepare for your arrival. It will take approximately 3 of your days to reach the facility. 3 more days. Leanne sighed. Then, a month for the procedure plus 3 days to return. That's nearly 40 days. Time passes differently near our homeworld. Viridia reminded her. The subjective experience will be shorter for you, and the knowledge you gain may be worth the time invested. Hope you're right, Leanne said. She looked at her sister, both of them silently wondering if they had made the right choice or if they were being manipulated for some purpose they didn't yet understand. The journey to the Nexus medical facility took longer than expected. Nearly 5 Earth days passed as they traveled through what Viridia called folded space. During this time, the sisters learned more about the alien culture and technology. Leanne found herself drawn to the ship's medical bay, studying the equipment and techniques used to treat the fading Allison. Meanwhile, spent her time in the research lab, learning about Nexus genetics and the hybrid DNA they carried. Did you know our DNA was modified to enhance certain traits? Allison told Leanne on the 5th day, as they ate synthesized food in their quarters. The scientists were specifically looking for increased healing, regeneration, and immunity. That makes sense, Leanne replied, considering what they need to cure their disease. Did they say anything about other abilities? Allison nodded. Actually, yes. The scientist I was working with, Zendar, showed me data suggesting our hybrid genes also enhance intuition and perception. That's probably why Grandma could predict storms. Leanne thought about this. Do you think that's why we've both been successful in medicine? Because we can sense things other people can? It's possible? Allison agreed. And there was something else Zendar mentioned. Our genes are still evolving. They think the hybrid DNA might eventually express even more strongly in future generations, our children. Leanne asked if we have any. Allison confirmed. Their scientists are particularly interested in that possibility. The next generation of hybrids. Leanne felt uneasy at this revelation. Are they expecting us to breed for them? To continue their experiment with our potential children? I asked that directly, Allison said, and Zendar assured me that wasn't their intention, but I could tell he was holding something back. I don't think they're telling us everything. Before they could discuss further, a soft chime sounded and the walls pulsed with light. We have arrived. Viridia's voice announced in their minds. Please prepare to disembark. The sisters gathered their few belongings and followed the glowing path that appeared on the floor, leading them to a docking area. As they entered a large chamber with a transparent ceiling, they gasped in unison. Above them stretched a breathtaking vista. A massive ringed planet dominated the view, surrounded by 3 moons of varying sizes. In the distance, a blue star cast everything in an azure glow. Welcome to the Nexus system, Viridia said, joining them. Our homeworld, Nexus Prime, is the 2nd moon you see there. It's beautiful, Leanne whispered. Viridia led them to a transport vessel where other Nexus aliens waited. Some were clearly scientists, while others appeared to be officials of some kind wearing ornate garments with glowing symbols. This is the High Council representative, Viridia explained, indicating a tall Nexus with 8 arms and elaborate silver markings on his blue skin. They have come to greet you formally. The representative approached and made a complex gesture with his many arms. We welcome you humans to our system. Your assistance honors us and will not be forgotten. The sisters bowed, slightly unsure of the proper protocol. The transport took them to the surface of the moon, revealing a landscape unlike anything they had seen on Earth. The ground was covered with crystalline vegetation that sang softly in the breeze. Buildings grew organically from the terrain, spiraling upward and connecting with elevated pathways. The sky was a deep purple, with streaks of blue where the atmosphere thinned. This is the Central Medical Facility, Viridia explained as they approached a massive structure that resembled a giant flower, with petals that opened and closed rhythmically. It is our most advanced research center. Inside the facility was even more impressive. Chambers and corridors branched in all directions, filled with Nexus scientists and medical workers. Many showed signs of the fading, their skin patched with gray, their movements sometimes faltering. The sisters were given a tour of the facility, learning about the various research projects and treatment attempts that had failed over the centuries. Tomorrow you will begin the integration process, Viridia told them, as they were shown to their new quarters on the station. For now, rest and prepare yourselves. That night neither sister could sleep. Both lay awake thinking about what was to come. Are you scared? Allison asked in the darkness. Terrified, Leanne admitted, but also strangely excited. We're part of something enormous. Here we are, ordinary humans, but somehow we're important enough that an advanced alien species needs us. I keep thinking about what might happen when we get home. Allison said, how do we go back to normal life? After this, would anyone even believe us? Probably not. Leanne agreed. We might have to keep it secret. The next morning, they were taken to a chamber deep within the facility. Its walls were lined with crystal formations that pulsed with light. Zendar waited for them along with a team of Nexus scientists. We have prepared everything, the lead researcher told them. The process will begin with a complete genetic mapping, followed by targeted resonance extraction. Will it hurt? Allison asked. You will experience discomfort. Zendar admitted. Fatigue, dizziness, possibly pain, as your genetic structure temporarily destabilizes, but we will monitor you constantly and provide treatments to manage the symptoms. The sisters were asked to change into garments made of a silky material that seemed to shift colors with their movements. Then they were led to 2 crystal pods, similar to the ones in the medical bay, but larger. I will be with you throughout the process, Viridia assured them. I will serve as your guide. And translator Leanne took a deep breath and entered the pod. The crystal surface was surprisingly warm and seemed to mold itself around her body. Once she was settled, the pod sealed seamlessly, a portion remaining transparent so she could see out beside. Her Allison was similarly encased, looking nervous but determined. A soft blue glow filled both pods, and Leanne felt a tingling sensation spread through her body, genetic mapping beginning. Zendar announced, the first phase will take approximately 6 hours. As the process began, Leanne tried to stay calm, focusing on her breathing and watching the scientists work. Around her, holographic displays showed what appeared to be her DNA magnified and rotating slowly. The hybrid sections glowed with a distinct purplish light. The first day passed slowly. The mapping process was uncomfortable but manageable, causing only mild nausea and headaches. Viridia remained nearby, answering questions and explaining what was happening. On the second day, the extraction began. This is the most critical phase, Zendar explained. The resonance technology will identify the specific hybrid sequences and create quantum copies. As soon as the process started, Leanne knew this would be much worse than the mapping. The tingling intensified, becoming painful like electric shocks running through every cell. Her vision blurred and she felt as if her bones were softening. Allison was having an even stronger reaction. Her pod filled with emergency lights as her vital signs fluctuated dangerously. Stop, Leanne called out, seeing her sister's distress. Something's wrong. The scientists rushed to Allison's pod, adjusting controls and injecting something into the environment. Gradually, her condition stabilized, though she remained unconscious. Her system is more sensitive to the procedure, Zendar explained. We have modified the resonance frequency. But she will need time to recover. Is she going to be okay? Leanne demanded. Yes, Zendar assured her. But we must proceed more slowly with her. The full extraction may take longer than anticipated. Days turned into weeks. The procedure continued with periodic breaks to allow the sisters to recover. Leanne adapted better than Allison, experiencing shorter recovery times and fewer complications. The scientists were excited by the differences in their reactions, gathering valuable data on how the hybrid genes expressed themselves differently. During one recovery period, Leanne was strong enough to leave her pod and visit the research lab where the extracted genetic material was being processed. She watched as the scientists created a serum that would theoretically cure the fading. The first tests are promising. Zendar told her we have applied the serum to tissue, samples from patients in advanced stages of the fading. The hybrid genes successfully integrate and begin repair. When will you test it on actual patients? Leanne asked. Soon, Zendar replied. Once we complete the full extraction and refine the serum, we have volunteers waiting. A week later, approximately 20 Earth days into their stay. Leanne was surprised to be woken by alarms blaring throughout the facility. What is it? She asked Viridia, who rushed into their recovery chamber. The Drovac, Viridia explained, her mental voice tense. They have found us. They are attacking the orbital defenses. Are they coming here? Leanne sat up, feeling dizzy from the sudden movement. It is possible, Viridia admitted. We must move you to a secure location. Your genetic material is still their primary target. What about the serum? Leanne asked. Has it been completed, Zendar? Has the first batch, Viridia told her. It is being tested now, but we need to evacuate the facility. Leanne looked at her sister, who was still recovering. From the latest extraction session, Allison was awake but weak. Barely able to sit up, she can't be moved. Leanne said she needs more time. We don't have time, Viridia replied urgently. The Drovac have breached the outer defenses. They will reach the surface within hours. Despite her weakness, Allison spoke up. I can walk. With help. The sisters were helped from their pods and given stimulants to increase their strength. Nexus medical staff supported them as they made their way through the facility toward an underground bunker.